Hi. Constructed under the supervision of French diplomat Ferdinand de Lesseps, the Suez Canal was built in Egypt and operated jointly by a British-French organization. After a decade of construction, the man-made waterway opened in 1869, effectively dividing Egypt from the Sinai Peninsula. The strategic significance of the Suez Canal in international trade swiftly escalated tensions among Egypt's neighbors and rival Cold War superpowers. The catalyst for the coordinated attack by Israel, Britain, and France on Egypt occurred when Egyptian leader Gamal Abdel Nasser nationalized the Suez Canal in July 1956. However, the situation had been building up for a considerable period. Backed by Soviet arms and financial aid, and embittered by the United States' withdrawal of promised funds for constructing the Aswan Dam on the Nile River, Nasser issued the order to seize and nationalize the Suez Canal. He argued that tolls from Canal traffic would fund the Aswan Dam project. The British, angered by this action, held clandestine military discussions seeking support from France, who suspected Nasser of aiding rebels in French colony of Algeria, and from neighboring Israel, for a coordinated armed operation to reclaim control of the canal. The Sèvres Protocol emerged from covert discussions among British, French, and Israeli leaders at a villa in Sèvres, located in a Paris suburb. These negotiations took place from October 22 to October 24, 1956. Intending to orchestrate military action against Nasser's Egypt. Following the signing, the three governments honored their commitments, despite officially denying the negotiations and the protocol's existence. To conceal this collusion, British Prime Minister Anthony Eden shredded the document, while the French misplaced it. However, surviving copies can be located in Israeli archives, providing evidence of the initial collaboration with Western powers. The protocol was initiated with a plan for Israel to launch an attack across the Sinai on October 29th, aiming to reach the Suez Canal by the following day. On October 30th, the British and French were slated to issue an ultimatum to both sides, demanding an immediate ceasefire and the withdrawal of opposing forces beyond a 10-mile zone on either side of the canal. In anticipation of Egyptian refusal, Britain and France planned to occupy this zone, while Israel was assigned the task of lifting the Egyptian blockade of Eilat by seizing the islands of Tiran and Sinafir at the southern end of the Red Sea. Additionally, a French annex to the protocol outlined provisions for an aerial shield and naval presence to safeguard Israel proper from Egyptian aggression. Initially, forces from all three countries were scheduled to strike simultaneously, but the British and French troops faced delays. Despite being behind schedule, they eventually landed at Port Said and Port Fouad, seizing control of the vicinity around the Suez Canal. However, their hesitation allowed the Soviet Union time to react. Soviet leader Nikita Khrushchev vehemently denounced the invasion and issued a threat to launch nuclear missiles on Western Europe unless the combined Israeli-French-British force withdrew. USA delivered firm warnings to the French, British, and Israelis, urging them to abandon their campaign and withdraw from Egyptian territory. The United States threatened all three nations with economic sanctions if they persisted in their military actions. These warnings proved effective. British and French forces withdrew by December, and Israel eventually yielded to U.S. pressure, relinquishing control over the canal to Egypt. Consequently, Egypt reopened the Suez Canal in March 1957. Notably, the Suez Crisis marked the inaugural deployment of a United Nations peacekeeping force. The United Nations Emergency Force, UNEF, was dispatched to the region to oversee the cessation of hostilities and the withdrawal of the three occupying forces. Following the Suez Crisis, Britain and France, formerly dominant colonial powers, witnessed a decline in their influence as global players, while the United States and the Soviet Union assumed greater prominence in international affairs. That's it for this video. I hope you liked it. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. There will be more informative videos like this in the future, so stay tuned.